Z to Z Podcast presents Review Z.
This week I'm joined by Warren, Randy, and Tarragon. Warren and I will be setting each other up on blind dates in Kitty Powers Matchmaker, while Randy and Tarragon will be setting the beat in outer space in Aaero. And with that, say hello, Warren.
Hello, Warren.
I appreciate that, Warren. Okay, so Kitty Powers Matchmaker. Oh, that was, amazingly, I got good things to say. But let's start off with the info. So this was published by Stellar Entertainment Software Limited and developed by Magic Notion. It was released on March 10th, 2017 for Xbox One under the ID at Xbox program with a reasonable price of $11.99. So with that, let's start with you, Planting. What did you think of Kitty Power?
For as basic a game as I kind of was expecting going into it, it actually got a lot deeper. There's quite a bit to this. It is definitely very glamorous, very in your face with innuendo constantly, but oh my god, it has got such great, I have to keep playing it. Just one more match. I need one good date. Yeah. I know. I have to say it's been one of the more interesting games I've played as of late, and it definitely exceeded what I expected going into it.
Yeah. So we'll start off. So for those who do not know who Kitty Powers is, I was one of those. Is my assumption is she is a UK drag queen, and this is her dating matchmaking service. So you get to now again, I thought this would have been one of those very crudely animated, because we've had some very poorly animated, I always think back to Perfect Woman type games, but even though the game was not either done in retro, and it is definitely very cutesy and animated, it's actually very well done. So you start and you have a matchmaking service, and you get to matchmake boys with girls, or boys with boys, or girls with girls. You get it. Basically, it is anything is acceptable as long as you obviously match somebody to their preferred gender requirements. And though I will say the one thing that was hard for me to adjust to, being an American, and I'm not sure if you had the same thing, it's very British. So when you were going to the putting people on a date in the British restaurant, I've learned more. Who would eat haggis on a date?
There's a lot of things on those menus that are probably not the best. Jellied eels. Yeah, very British cuisine. Even the American restaurant was very Britishized, and obviously the slang and the vernacular is British. But overall, it was actually, as you said, it was once you get into the whole idea. So the mechanics. So basically, you start off with you start with one suitor, and eventually, as you level up, you can have 2 to 3 people that you're matching. And so you get somebody that comes in, a client, and you're given, you're given 3 bad date limit, right? Well, yeah, because you can have 3 bad dates before they leave the service. But you could, have multiple good dates, even if you just set them up for repeated dates before they, hook up. You want to call it that. So you set them. So you go find them a match in your black book, right? You have a black book of your potential suitors, and then you go through and you try to find people based on their likes and dislikes, what they want in terms of eye color, hair color, and you find, would you say the things like interest and spice? Those are kind of more. What would that be? Personality type? Personality traits, the things you unlock when you level up?
Yes, yeah. So you have these underlying personality traits, which is the embodiment of who people are. And so the more that you can match people up together successfully, the better your grading goes. And yeah, you basically gain XP and rep, that thing that we had on Xbox 360 that nobody seemed to use. But I think where this game shined was the minute you realize you can set your friends up on dates. And when I'm saying friends, you know what I mean, planning. We get to set each other up.
Oh, yeah. I tried setting you up. You didn't do well in your date.
Well, I am... Actually, wait. I think you're still in my book. Yeah, I've tried really hard to get you a female avatar of your liking, but yeah, I think the best I've gotten is second dates for you. And when I think somebody, when they went to go and ask you to go steady, it came off too strong for you. And you're like, nah.
Oh, we're horrible for dating.
Yeah. So the nice thing is, like, so the dates are relatively quick. I think you can get through a date in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending.
It depends on how much time you spend, like, trying to memorize every detail that might come up in the conversation.
Yeah. So basically, it's each date is a series of 3 mini games. So you start, you have the quote unquote setup where you can go, and as you eventually level up, you can do things like change people's hair color, hairstyles. So if you know that you're setting up a glam type person on a date with a, I don't know, what's one of the geek, right?
Yep.
You can change like either the hair color, so you know this person likes black hair and your hair's red. Okay, well, dye it black. There you go. Now you know that's going to be a match. But there's also the facial hair and the clothing styles. Those things can be changed, so you can try to make somebody that might not be a potential good match a better match when the date sets off. And so you go into the date, and then it will start with, you have to this is one of the grinds, the menu. So explain the menu, Warren.
Okay. When you start, they ask you, or you do a little idle talk. You say you want to order dinner, and they'll tell you that they want to order a particular dish, which will be like a cold white meat dish. And then you've got to somehow look through this menu that they'll give you and make sense of it and find what they want. And since it's all either British slang or completely dishes I've never heard of, you have to ask the waiter and spend money, these coins you get for making good matches, to unlock the description of whatever these random dishes are.
Yeah. And so your date would say, I want a meat dish that's cold, and I'm trying to diet, so I don't want any dairy in it. So you'd have to go and guess, hey, is that what haggis is? And so one of the achievements, like as you said, is to get all 20 of the there's 20 menu items per restaurant. And so you have to eventually ask the waiter what all 20 items are. Well, the most you're ever going to get is, 5 items at a time?
5 or 6. I think it might be 6, but yeah.
Yeah, so you got to keep going back on date after date, and eventually all of the menu items should show up, and when you've unlocked the tip on the last one, you get the achievement, and then you can stop going to that restaurant and you can go to the next. So I'm trying to work through each restaurant just to get all of them done, and then just move on to, okay, everybody's going to go Brazilian. I don't know if there was anything where sending people on a certain type of cuisine made a difference, right? Like, I didn't think it mattered.
As far as I know, no. The restaurant you go to doesn't make a difference other than how much you know about the dishes there.
Yeah, I think the other thing is if somebody had already been on a date to one restaurant, you should go to another restaurant to have a more successful date was all. Like, you couldn't go and take your second. You could take a different date to the same restaurant, but you can't take the same.
Tell you the
date
truth, I've taken almost everyone to that British restaurant because that was the first one I went through, and I've had successful second dates.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that was one of the things, like, Kitty gave a tip. But either way, I mean, so the game I found, oddly enough, especially when I started having the ability to match you up, or I won't name other screen names, but I actually have had a few other friends. And actually, I just got an email back from the one I've set up with her boyfriend, and I got a B rating. So it seems like things are going good. Yeah, it's not an A. It's not an A+, but no kids.
Not a perfect match, but, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, their happiness levels are high and still increasing.
Nice.
So I will say, yeah, for the price that this game was, at first I'm like, oh, it's a very kind of simple dating sim. But yeah, I find myself wanting to come back and like, as you said, I could do one more. Or, oh, if I got 10 minutes to go do something, okay, fine. Let's just load up Miss Kitty and just go on one date, grind out these restaurants or whatever. So it's definitely, there's a lot, the achievements are going to take time because it just takes time to get through all the menu items and to do all of those. Tap the cat 25 times. So the cat doesn't always show up on a date. So you're going to have to go to more than 25 dates to get that cat.
Well, given how many times I went to the same British restaurant trying to get the one dish I needed to show up, yeah, there'll be plenty of cat tapping.
Yeah. So, I mean, the game is going to give you, I can't even guess at this point. My guess, it's got to be at least if you were playing straight through to do everything, it's going to take at least 20 hours.
I would say the same at least, yeah. Like a good 15, 20.
But the good thing is it's not a tedious grind, right? You could just do 1 or 2 dates and just be done. And as I said, when you get matching up people like, hey, when I say, whoa, there's planning, I can match you up on it kind of makes it a little more fun. I was wanting to send kind of a challenge to either the Z to Z listeners or even TA as a whole. If this could really become truly like a Z to Z matchmaking or a TA matchmaking, let's start matching up TA people on dates. Let's see how this works out.
Hey, if it works for Kitty Powers, it can work for TA.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, again, the game is cute, quick to get into. It is a collection of basically mini games on these dates of doing things, but for as repetitious as the mini dates are, I don't notice it as much because it does break it up enough and goes through it quickly enough. It doesn't seem to get completely trying. I mean, granted, after 20 hours, I'm sure I'm going to be singing another tune going, okay, I'm sick and tired of going to the Japanese restaurant now. I only got 2 more restaurants to go. But, Yeah,
I mean, if you're into like the memory games, if you like concentration from like way back in the day, if you like if you have a good attention to detail, like the point and click style things where you can find what you need to find out of those static pages, this is probably something that Joe would actually enjoy. It's something that you just need to use your brain on because you're spending. It's more brain power based off of what you're given than the actual visuals of the game itself. Like that's what gives you the enjoyment is I did a good job, as opposed to the okay, yeah, it's this restaurant again. It's the same 4 waiters, but
yeah, so I would say this is definitely a game at the $11.99 price point. I think it's priced right. I definitely would say it's a single player game. However, it is definitely one you want to incent your friends to play. So you can go because I mean, that's where the fun is when you can sit there and when I get the emails from you showing who you set me up with, and you're probably, if you haven't logged in today, you'll get to see who I've tried to take you on a date with, etc. That kind of stuff's kind of cool. So, I mean,
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. So, with that, I give this as a recommend. I recommend this amazingly. I thought I wouldn't when I first heard of this game, but you know what? That's why you go on these dates, because you never know.
Right? Hey, every blind date is going to come out one way or the other. This one definitely came out as a good recommend as well.
All right. Cool. So 2 recommends from us. And with that, I am going to kick it over to Randy for his and Tarragon's takes on Aaero. Take it away, Randy.
Okay, welcome to this week's section of Reviews Ed. I am joined by Tarragon.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about Aaero, I think.
Yes, that's how I'd pronounce it. Aaero.
And it was really weird because when I was looking up this game on TA when I first went to play it, I had it installed on my Xbox, and then I was looking at the stylized name, and I couldn't figure out what the second A was.
Yeah.
So I actually had to hover over it to see it in normal text. I was like, oh, that's what it is. So yeah, strange spelling. So we'll confirm that again. Aaero if you're looking for the game. It is a game developed and published by Mad Fellows, which is a team of 2 people that were previously at Codemasters and Freestyle Games, which developed my favorite game, Guitar Hero Live. and also DJ Hero. Not these people, but Freestyle Games. Just to throw Grind Hero under the bus again. And it has an Xbox Live Store price of $19.99. So what it is basically imagine playing a Guitar Hero or Rock Band vocal track with a controller combined with a shooter. Not a first-person shooter, but like a shoot-'em-up kind of shooter in a spaceship.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, there's it's actually the game itself. If you ever played a game called Rez, it's very similar to that in its style.
I did not play Rez. I have it. I have not played
Rez,
it.
and its I think a spiritual successor is Child of Eden, which was a Kinect game. So that's a very similar style. It's essentially a rhythmic shooter on rails. So you sort of go through an environment. Enemies come at you, but it's all based on the rhythm of the music. That's essentially the crux of it.
Being on the topic of the rhythm of the music, I really liked that the targeting system, even while it wasn't scripted with the music, pretty much regardless of what point in the music you were, sounded just like it was part of the track, which was cool.
Yeah, it's actually one of the more advanced elements that I didn't actually realize on the game until I went and looked up some reviews on it. The actual targeting when you shoot, your bullets will always hit them on the beat. So if you shoot,
that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, if you shoot exactly on the beat, you actually get a better. Your bullets go to them quicker, but you also get more points. So there's certainly some things to learn with the rhythm and learning when your bullets and when to shoot your bullets exactly. So
I was actually going to complain about that because it bothered me that the bullets were inconsistent. And as far as I could tell, there was no way to tell. But knowing that it's on the beat, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I still found it a little bit tricky to work out exactly because I think it's not every beat. I think it's like every second or so. It was a bit confusing, and I've been still trying to work it out. But it certainly is. It follows a pattern. You've just got to kind of learn exactly when to shoot to get the maximum out of it. Yeah, so that's it. But that's only one part of the gameplay. The other part is the ribbon segments, which are probably the most fun, I think.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the ribbons more than the shooting, especially for replayability, because there's kind of, you can shoot the ships. Once you learn where they come out and where they spawn, it's easy. It's the same. The ribbons are the same every time too, but the ribbons are where the real precision comes in and where you get your accuracy percentage.
For sure, and they also happen during some of the best parts of the songs. So the actual soundtrack is probably be right up my alley. If you happen to know my taste in music, this entire game pretty much summarizes my entire taste in music. So much so that I even went and actually I made a Spotify playlist of all of the songs on the soundtrack, and probably at least half of those have sort of made it into my own personal playlists. So
now a question on the soundtrack: are these like big artists, or are they kind of like lesser known artists? Because I don't know. I don't really listen to that kind of music. Yeah,
they're actually pretty big ones. Noisia, I already knew at least 3 or 4 of the tracks off this, just out of my own listening. So like Split the Atom by Noisia, I knew, and a bunch of others. So but there's some of these artists are pretty big name artists,
which is impressive given the price point. Because when you look at what were there 20-ish songs probably.
It's about 15. I can get the proper count there. Yeah,
somewhere between 15 and 20, and that's barely more than $1 a song if you're just looking at songs. So, and I'm sure the licensing fee on some of those bigger ones was rather hefty.
Yeah, and I think they went and talked to them. They were very sort of thankful that they were able to get those tracks. I was reading into that. They had to go and talk to the publishers and get the rights to them and that sort of stuff. And it's fully licensed, which is rather impressive. But I think it really shows that actually the songs are really well suited for the game. When you get to the ribbon bits, the songs are. They're not all dubsteppy, but they've got dubstep elements or very heavy bass elements at parts of them, and that's when you hit the ribbon sections. So it's probably worth just going into what you actually do with the ribbons, and how that gameplay works. The entirety of the sort of area that you control or that you move around in is essentially a circle on the screen, which you just control with your left stick. So you move your spaceship there. The ribbon appears sort of on the edge of that area, and you've got to keep your ship on the ribbon as it moves around the screen, and it moves in time with the rhythm of the song. So if you imagine sort of a hefty bass part has come in for a song and it's just going bow, wow, wow, the ribbon will actually follow that in its own sort of pattern, a rhythmic pattern to the music.
And another thing that I liked with the ribbons too is you would have a little dot lead you to kind of give you a feel of how, because I mean it's all on a circle and it's kind of in the distance like a highway in Guitar Hero, so it's not coming straight up and down like in a flat 2D plane, like Rock Revolution. And I found that following that, at least for me, following the dot that leads you really made some of the kind of, I want to call them like wave motions, like kind of quarter circle motions.
Yeah.
A lot easier to judge, because at first when I wasn't looking at that, I would just right off the ribbon. I mean, you could do it in time with the music, but if you do a half circle instead of a quarter circle because of the way it's coming at you and it looks a little different. Well, you did a half circle when you stood in a quarter circle, and you're way off and you lose your combo.
Yeah. So probably we're probably not explaining how that actually the game actually works there. Essentially, You're flying a spaceship into the background, so you're flying forward. And if you imagine the basis of the gameplay is you're essentially flying down a tunnel. That's the area that you've got direct control of. Outside of that, there are various things happening. Enemies flying in. So there's actually boss fights as well, where you've got like a huge, say, like a huge. What would you call it? It's a worm. If you imagine the worm from Dune, I don't know if people know that reference. It's actually the achievement references Dune, which is kind of funny. But essentially, a humongous worm is diving around, and you've got to shoot it. But that's all happens sort of just a little bit outside of your sort of area of control. But where you're always flying forward into a sort of a circular kind of tunnel, essentially.
And the same thing with your targeting is it's on that same circle. So
that's right,
everything is kind of, it was based around two joysticks and one button, and that's your entire control scheme. And it was interesting too, because I was reading about the PC version and it requires a controller, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd play it otherwise, really.
I don't know.
It's sort of designed to be around the circle of a controller. I don't really see how you'd do it with a mouse at all, really. No. It's just, it
would be very difficult.
For sure.
And it's not like you have to fly. You're not stuck or confined to that outer circle. You can fly in like every piece of the circle. It's just the ribbons are always going to be on the edge. Yep. So I don't know if there's any. Well, I was going to say I don't know if there's any point, but there are some obstacles that you have to dodge in certain songs.
Yes, actually, that was one minor complaint I had with the game.
Me too.
Probably got a different complaint than you. There was one level where you have to fly through these sections, and there's basically closing sections, like they close in front of you, but they give you a little sort of green indicator where it's safe to fly. And the problem is that that's green and the rest of it is red. And if you're colorblind, you've got zero way of knowing where the safe point is. So, I don't know if they've got a setting within there, but I was sort of aware looking at that going, if you're colorblind, you're going to have a lot of trouble with this level.
Well, see,
and that might be true of some of the other levels too, because the distinction between green and red is not, not clear sometimes.
I think that kind of goes with some of the colors too. As I was going to say, the second boss is this kind of goes in when we were talking a little bit off air before the recording, but I found some of the projectiles that are shot at you or thrown at you, depending on what the enemy is, were very difficult to see, just because the game looks very good and the use of colors is nice, but it's not effective at distinguishing things. So while it looks nice and it all blends together very nicely, that's a problem when something is shooting at you.
Because it all blends together. Yeah.
Because it all blends together and you can't see it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem, particularly the second boss. I had a really, really hard time with, just because the projectiles that were getting thrown at me, I just couldn't see them because they were the same color as everything around. And I couldn't tell if they were targeted because the targets also blended around everything else.
That's funny because I actually got past. I managed to defeat the second boss first try. The first boss I still haven't defeated. So there's a thing about it as well. You can actually get through the songs with the bosses without defeating the boss.
For defeating the boss, same thing. I was able to kill the second boss first try,
right?
But I died mmany times before I was able to even get through the song. So the first time I got through the song, I killed the boss, but it was that I probably had more trouble with that level than any other level in the game, just because I couldn't see the projectiles well. And also on that, I didn't clue into the green and red thing until like halfway through the game and the dodging stuff. So yeah, if you don't know it's there, it is really difficult.
And even then, it's sort of like you've got like a split second to work out exactly which area it is. And it's a sort of a case of you better off just learning the level and learning where those are.
And I was going to say, for colorblind people, I mean, it'd probably only take you 15 minutes to remember.
Yeah.
To figure it out and remember
the pattern, yeah. And I think you go through that section twice, and the pattern is the same both times. So it's it's really just a pattern. That's the thing about the levels. You basically just learn the levels. You learn where the enemies come.
And you kind of have to. Yeah, and then my other complaint with those dodging sections is the hitbox. There were a couple of times where it was kind of hard to tell. Like, I cleared an object and I wanted to return to the middle quickly afterwards, and on the screen it really looked like it was cleared, but when you go back to the middle, I just died. So I mean, it was easy. It's a very minor complaint because the solution was keep holding that direction for like half a second longer. But
and then
that's kind of annoying to die that way.
Learning the skills of the game, I guess, or learning the levels. The things I found that killed me the most, though, were you've only got a limited number of targets. So I think you can paint targets with your right stick and then shoot, but you can only target 8 at a time. And so if you've targeted 8 and there's a bullet and the bullet is coming towards you and you shoot, you've got to wait for your bullets to get to all of your targets first and shoot them before you can target and shoot again. Meanwhile, a bullet is coming towards you, and those bullets are almost impossible to actually dodge. So the amount of time...
I think you can kind of, like, you can't ever fully dodge it, but you can extend it.
Yeah, I have actually managed to dodge it. It's just very, very difficult.
I didn't know you could do it.
Yeah, they move so fast. I think you essentially have to move completely around, like halfway around the circle, when it's almost about to hit you, and it will miss you. But it's very difficult to dodge. So basically, your only option is to shoot them. And if your bullet's already all tied up on targets and you are at the wrong point in the beat, you basically out of luck. You're going to die. Yeah. The skill of it, I think, is just learning to target correctly and knowing what to target, like what to wait for. So if you've got to wait for bullets, you know that they're coming. You got to make sure you target those before you target anything else around there, so you can get rid of them quickly.
And there's no way to untarget either, which is something that I think the game would have benefited from if you could maybe hit Y or something and just drop all your targets to repaint them. It would have been nice, because you target so quickly that on some enemies you paint all 8 targets almost instantly.
Yeah, so, well, that's the thing. Some of them. So the enemies might take multiple hits, but it means that if you paint your target over them, it actually targets all 8 of your shots on that straight away. So if they then shoot, you've basically got to shoot as quickly as possible, even off the beat. So yeah, I think most of that's just learning the levels, learning how to shoot on the beat, and and practice, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's the really interesting thing about the game is that it really does draw you in to retry and get a better score. It's sort of not one of those, I'll play it once and I've done it. It's really I would love to play this again and just get a better score at it.
And they did a very good job of that.
Mm.
And really, the whole game is great. I mean, our complaints are minor. And I guess I kind of mentioned my last complaint before, but I'll just kind of go into detail with painting the bullets. Is the targets that you paint are red, and the bullets that come after you have red boxes around them to warn you, be like, hey, bullet incoming, it's going to kill you, shoot it. That looks just like the painted target box. So if you move your target over it and it, you just miss it or whatever, and because all of this is happening very quickly and a lot of it is kind of peripheral vision because you're kind of making sure you don't run into anything, you're making sure you aren't missing any other bullets and you're targeting all the other bullets. It's very easy to miss that you've targeted or not target a bullet that's coming at you and then just die when you're thinking, I totally painted that, but you actually didn't. It was just the red box flashing. So it would be nice if there was some better differentiation between the warning box and the painted target box.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, some of the just the clarity of the targeting versus everything else that's going on might be a little bit nicer in some instances, but that's really, it's a minor thing. The game is great. It's a lot of fun. If you're into if you're into the music that I'm into, you're going to love it. If you're not, you're going to love it anyway. And yeah, it's a very rewarding game. Once you get through a level, doing it completely correctly and you get your 5 stars, it's really rewarding to do that. And even the leaderboard stuff, I was looking at the leaderboard and I think the only person on my friends list who'd played it early enough was Randall Thor, and I was going, I got to get a better score than he has. It's one of those games.
It was funny. The top of the leaderboards were pretty much all people from TA when I was playing.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was like the people, I think, when I started playing, I think 3 people had completed it. So it was like, those 3 people were in the top 5 on everything that I played. Because, I mean, you got to really get to play it early. You're on the leaderboards early. But I'm sure the scores will be, now that it's released, I'm sure that'll change.
Yeah, so you've managed to get into. I didn't get far enough to get to the extra difficulties. Maybe you want to go into that a bit.
Oh, right. Okay, one more complaint. Got to rain. So you start off. There's 3 difficulties. I don't remember if they're easy, medium, hard, or what they call them. But
I think they're just normal, advanced, and master. I think was the
that was it. Yeah. So you start on normal. The other 2 are locked. And the learning curve is quite gentle. You could go in not being that good at rhythm games and get by. I mean, you're not going to do really well. You're going to struggle with the ribbons for a while, but it's easy enough to pick up and play. It's forgiving enough. You're not just going to, die over and over again and hate it. So that's a plus for sure. But if you want to play on the higher difficulties, now you get used to, especially if you've been playing rhythm games for a long time, you get the gist of the game pretty quickly, and the difficulty doesn't ramp up that much as you go on. And unfortunately, to unlock the harder difficulties, you have to get, I think, to unlock medium, you have to get 90% of the stars on easy.
Yeah, you need to get 70 out of 75.
Which is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it
wasn't. I didn't find it too difficult to get to about. I'm sitting on about 65, so I know if I go back and replay some of them, I'll be able to do that. But it seems like an unnecessary blocker, particularly if you've completed all of the songs, to force you to go back and replay some of them and get most of the available sort of score out of them seems a bit. Unnecessary, I guess.
Before you move on. So I was able to do it, and I played about half of the medium difficulty, and the difference is almost nothing. In terms of passing the levels, it's basically just as difficult. I actually found it easier to 5-star a lot of stuff on medium because it seems like it requires you to be less perfect because there's more potential score. It's kind of, if the ribbons are the same on both difficulties. The enemies are very similar. I think medium has a few more, but the biggest change is when you fall off a ribbon, it punishes you by lowering your combo much more quickly. And when it does, it cuts it in half instead of dropping it by 1. So, it's easier to lose a life that way, because if your combo drops to 0 and you fall off a ribbon, or drops to 1, I guess, then you die. And there's just more shooting on the ribbons. So on easy, generally, there's no enemies when you're flying the ribbons. On medium, there are a few enemies that are just trivial to take out. I don't think I've ever taken a hit from one in half of the difficulty going, or half of the songs. So I would have liked to just jump straight to the hardest difficulty, and I don't know what that is, because that one requires 100% of stars on easy and medium to unlock, which it just seems like just totally unnecessary. I would much rather go up to the hardest difficulty to really get a grasp for all of the skills that I need to master to get all 5 stars, and just do it on hard right off the bat.
And also, if you know, I mean, you know that you'll be able to get through all of the ones that are on advanced anyway. It's kind of
exactly.
Like, I know I'm good enough to do master. I just don't want to have to go through all of the steps to do it, I guess, is the issue.
Neither of us got that far, but I'd like to try it. And when I go back on my main tag and play it again, of course I will get there. But it's just annoying to have to play so much of the lower difficulties when it gets to the point that they're just easy, and it's just a matter of getting a really nice run just to get that 5 stars.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing I'll mention is there are secrets in the game. There's little sort of hidden sort of nodes as you're going through the levels that you've got to target and shoot. And so there are a number of these. Now, one of the nice things about it as well is there's actually a chill out mode, which is essentially a practice mode, but you can get all of the secrets during chill out mode. So that's probably the recommended way to do it, because you're not limited in lives. You can just go through and essentially ignore everything except for the collectibles.
Which was nice.
A nice little,
I mean, and you can pick up a lot of them just by playing normally too. I got more than half of them just by playing normally. Yeah, you will pick up a lot of them, but there are some that are pretty sneaky. So it's probably worth dedicating some time specifically to getting those, and looking at some guides, I think. Cause, there is a full guide up too that has all of them. So but all in all, it gets a thumbs up from me. It's a great little game, and I actually purchased it on my own tag because I thought it was really great, and wanted to play more of it, and I feel like playing some more of it right now, in fact. So I've also made a Spotify playlist of all of the songs as well, which I'll add to the show notes for anybody interested. And great game. Totally recommend it, especially at this price. I mean, they could charge $30 for this and it'd still be worth it. It just it looks gorgeous. It's got a full licensed soundtrack. It's beautifully done. With we did some complaining, but it's really nitpicking. So definitely
it's a lot of fun
as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So with that, we will see you, or I will see you next week.